Operating systems, the most important part of your computer because, well, without them, you wouldn't have much of a computer. I remember when booting up my computer was exciting. Logging into my Windows XP machine and greeted by that olive green monstrosity with Chicken Invaders, The Sims, and other games on the desktop just like scattered around. But now I never know what to expect from my computer, as if it's not even mine. Previously, you had to pay for a product, you'd get a CD and a license key, type that in, install it, and you were good to go. You get a few minor fixes here and there, but that was it. Now, the purpose of an operating system has changed. Instead of buying a product, we are the product. With Windows now, there's constant updates. You're forced to create a Microsoft account. All your data is being recorded and sent back to Microsoft. There are ads in the taskbar. And to be honest, I could go on and on forever. So today, I want to talk about where it all went wrong. Personally, I hate that the first thing I have to do every Windows install is remove as much as I possibly can. It just feels like there's a second step to the installation process. We went from features being innovations, like in Windows XP, adding in Wi-Fi, and now it feels like all we've gotten is UI redesigns, going from glassy to flat and then back to glassy. Gone are the days that Microsoft make an operating system that just works. Even though most people won't install Windows themselves, I think it's still very important that we start off with the installation. For the past few years, Microsoft has just been fighting against the user. They're trying to make it impossible to create a Windows computer that is not connected to the internet by having this constant back and forth with developers who are finding ways to go into the console and re-add offline users. And when you look at what's coming next, it all just makes complete sense. Installing Windows has become a multi-step process. And by multi-step, I don't mean what drive to install it on. I don't mean if you want the fish or the chess piece profile picture. I mean, do you want Xbox Game Pass? Do you want Microsoft Office? Do you want Microsoft Office? And this is all before you even get to your desktop. But let's just say that we make it through the installation and we get to the operating system itself. What you're greeted with is just an abundance of bloatware and ads. If you've used Windows 10 in the past, you'll know that there used to be entries in your start menu for suggested applications you could get from the Windows Store. Over time, they realized that they could keep pushing more and more of these features in without people getting too upset, because you could just dismiss them, they'd go away. But eventually they got quite bad. I'm talking big tiles of Candy Crush and streaming services and social medias that are bigger than the apps you installed yourself. And with Windows 11, it just got even worse. Opening up the start menu on Windows 11 genuinely feels like one of those adware viruses you used to get in like the early 2000s. The default page on Edge is absolutely horrendous. You have a news tab, you have weather, you have stocks. You have access to every social media streaming platform and shitty mobile game under the sun, right at your fingertips. They should just add Bonsai Body in by default at this point. I think that would be an improvement. And this is without even talking about the lock screen. If I gave you a pen and paper and asked you to draw me what a lock screen should look like, would that include weather, stocks, a quiz, promotional videos? Like, I'm not even logged in yet. Give me a chance. It just feels like I'm using someone else's computer. Like I'm visiting an internet cafe. Like, why would I put my password into this machine? Who knows where it goes? And I know what some of you guys are probably thinking. You can turn this all off. But that's the problem. The only things you can customize is getting rid of the ads. This is so dumb. On Windows 11, you have the lock screen settings, which say, what picture do you want? And do you want the weather and more? You cannot individually tweak anything. It's just, do you want this on or off? And this is, to me, Microsoft's biggest problem. Customization. If there were ways to turn everything properly on or off, then there would be less issues overall. With Windows 11 though, everything just looks the same. Microsoft offer themes, but all it does is change the window decoration at the top and your wallpaper. There's just no point in even bothering. It feels like Microsoft have nothing else to work on. They've hit the theoretical limit of what an operating system should do, and they've just started making features for the sake of it. But it's strange that they're so focused on removing the familiarity that most people have. Familiarity is what keeps people happy with your product, and when they slowly start shifting things around and give you an option to change it back like the old way and then eventually phase it out, people will generally start to have a negative opinion towards your product. I also do know there are alternative start menus and taskbars that you can get. I mean, you could probably make a Windows computer look like Mac if you really wanted to, but I don't really like to consider those as viable alternatives, because then you might as well use a different operating system that gives applications complete control of what the software can look like and actually make something that doesn't feel tacked on as an extra. There's also another button on the taskbar that I've been carefully avoiding until now. I don't want to scare people off. I don't know about you, but I despise this thing. To me, it's not even a feature. It's another product that they're selling just the way that OneDrive is, and I don't think it's even worth talking about. But there is a very, very obvious reason why they're trying to put it at the front, and that is because innovation has become so minuscule. Genuinely, what has changed between Windows 10 and 11 other than the UI and ads? The biggest change I found from Windows 10 to 11 was the new File Explorer, which I really wish I could get the Windows 10 one back, and the new context menu, which pretty much everyone turned off immediately. Somehow everything's just new and improved, but the improvements are just how good their data collection is and how much they can gather from you by just typing in your taskbar. I mean, seriously, the privacy on Windows 11 is just shockingly bad. As I mentioned in the initial section, you're forced to make an account. This means that you're forced to agree to their terms and conditions and also their privacy policy if you want to use the operating system. In addition to this, Windows does give you the option to disable some tracking options, but it only reduces the amount of tracking. It doesn't hide it completely. If you want to see how bad it can get, I recommend watching How Bad is Windows Spying by Eric Parker. It's a bit technical, I'd admit, but it's an interesting watch nonetheless. So, what can we do? It is possible to make your Windows use private. It's just that companies like Microsoft intentionally make things harder in order to keep selling your data for profit. So if you have to use Windows, tools like privacy.sexy or WinUtil by Chris Titus Tech can help debloat Windows and make it more secure, but by far the best option in 2025 and beyond, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, is switching to Linux. Now this part, I'm gonna be honest, I've gone off script. I've been using Linux for about 9 years now, and I've never really been the shill. I've only ever recommended it to one person, but I do think that Linux is getting a lot better in recent years. I recently reinstalled Windows, and to see how hard that process was, I think the argument that Linux is hard to install is completely out the window. For the sake of this video, I don't want to use the word switch. I just want to use the phrase check it out. I think there's so many possibilities with Linux that could completely change the way that you look at operating systems as a whole, especially if you've only used Windows or Mac your whole life. And although it's probably for another video, I think it's definitely worth checking out. When a lot of people think about Linux, they think about terminals, they think about crashes, they think about just having to be a tech guy in order to work it, and to some extent that is still true and will always be true due to the nature of open source software. It is getting a lot better with companies like Valve investing into the ecosystem. Let me know what you guys think. Do you use Windows? Do you use Windows debloated? Do you have ads in your taskbar? Do you have ads in your lock screen? Why haven't you turned them off yet? Also, if you've made it this far, you should subscribe.